Testing. Okay, here we go. G'day, this is Greg from Mental Health. I've got Adam Agius here from the Levitation Hex, and we're in Canberra, and I was here today for Clinton Prize, Clinton's Walk with Justice, and that culminated in the Canberra corroboree today outside the Aboriginal Tent Embassy. A great day, and I thought Adam has kindly agreed to catch up with me for a bit of a yap about what good mental health means to him. So we'll start. Welcome, Adam. It's the 3rd of September 2017. So, hello, mate. How you doing? Thanks for coming here.
It's good to meet you, Greg, and pleasure's mine, mate.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam, and you've slipped me a couple of good CDs here, mate. By the way, the Levitation Hex, 2 CDs, I recognise that cover. So, here's one, you put one out last year, is that right?
That's right, mate. Cohesion came out last year, and this is a debut self-titled from 2012.
Right. Okay, look forward to them. Thanks very much for those.
No worries.
Mate, we'll start with a basic question I like to ask everyone to kick the conversation off. What does good mental health mean to you?
I think good mental health, it means balance to me. We run such busy lives now, and I think, it's really important not to get obsessive and try and bring balance to your life in every respect. And it's not an easy thing for people to achieve, and, it is something that has been, hits close to home. I think everyone has, mental health will touch them in some respect through their lives, whether it's someone they know or a problem they have themselves. You can see on this self-titled debut of ours, I wrote a song called Depressedemic, and it was just basically my thoughts and my view on, what I was seeing in the world, and with some of my close friends, So yeah, good mental health to me, it means balance, trying to live a balanced life, and like I said, not easy to achieve, but can be done.
I agree, mate. Thanks. Well said. Balance is very important, I think. So how is life for you off the road or when you're not gigging? Especially after a tour or maybe could be a one-off show or, a big event somewhere. Is it difficult for you to adjust back into life at home after time on the road? And if so, how do you adjust and how do you cope?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting thing you've brought up, and I've had conversations like this before. Well, if I first noticed what you're talking about when I did my first big European tour, which was about 40 shows in a row, and the band is your life at that stage, and when it does end, and it can be a shock. It can be a real shock, like the adulation, all this, you're sort of feeling high from all the energy, and it's really good. And look, I had found it difficult at first. I really did. These days, it's not so bad because the big tours are pretty much spread out. And look, for me, how I cope with basically everything is meditation. That's what I do. I look within, and it took, I haven't always done that. I think this is something I've probably done for the last 5 years, but just turning that voice off in your head, which we all have. We all have it. And it might be, look, the voice might be saying, "Oh, that was great, but now life's shit," and it's not. It's not. So I have a good coping mechanism now, but I know exactly what you were talking about. And back when I was a bit younger, and it would really get to me, I guess I would get stoned. That's sort of the way I'd help. It'd help me forget, I guess, but it's a bit of a mask, and it can catch up with you,
I understand totally what you mean about the last statement, mind-altering substances, and I know for me, just using them to numb, really, and it's not always a healthy outcome, especially when you do it excessively, like some of us tend to do. So what motivates you? You know, what keeps you going? I'm very interested in your meditation practice there. It's something that I've only I've dabbled with a bit over the years, but when I have stuck with it, I've just found it to be if anything, just a great practice to do every day, even though I might not sort of know what I'm doing with it, just to actually commit to some self-care, you know, even for a few minutes a day. I think it's a great practice. So yeah, that's an interesting thing to pursue. But what motivates you and what keeps you going? And is there anything else you want to say about meditation while we're on it?
Okay. Well, what motivates me is, you know, I guess, and like, you know, the reason why I jumped at this interview, Greg, is because, you know, I put myself through a whole lot of hell probably 4 or 5 years ago and got very depressed, and I had made some very poor decisions and then backed that up with more poor decisions and sort of stuff. And I just sort of had a revelation one day where I woke up and it was like, you know, I've really dug a hole for myself, and I think I exhausted every avenue of blaming everyone else for my own problems. So what motivates me, I guess, is, you know, and this is where I turned my life around and I guess started, you know, it was, I guess, without trying to be corny, it was more of a spiritual awakening for me, and what motivates me is, I guess, trying to bring some sort of peace to the world by improving myself. You know, if you look outwards all the time, yeah, the horrible stuff happens in this world, but I think you change the world within first. You know, that's the only way you can do it. And so I'm motivated to be a better person. That's what really motivates me, is that, okay, how can I improve? And I felt when I started to be a more positive person and believe that I just wasn't a meat computer, that I was something beyond that my life really improved. And I don't know if it's actually any different now, but I view it differently. You know what I mean? I just look at it differently. So I always had very supportive people around me. I just probably didn't realise how important that is, and you know, try be a good person, be a friendly person. Try when you're seeing someone upset, your first reaction might be to say, well, they're a fucking dickhead. Just take a couple of steps back and say, well, really, they're just me in a different package, aren't they? And they've made a poor decision today. And haven't we all made millions of them? So trying to be less judgmental, and, you know, it's not easy, but it certainly has huge benefits.
Yeah. And it was interesting your how you mentioned your outlook is kind of different. Would it be fair to say same shit's going on with life out there, but you yourself have a different, you're looking at it differently, is that right? And gives you a more positive kind of...
That's right. You know, rather than, you know, I don't watch the news, mate, because I think yes, there are all these bad things going on, but it's always embellished, and it's always to suit some sort of agenda, some sort of political agenda, be it left or right, depending on what news agency you're listening to. I find other ways of finding out correct information, not stuff that's been overhyped. Sorry, can you just repeat the question, because I just totally went off?
Yeah, no, not all. Just your outlook. You said before your outlook is changed. How you view things.
Okay, how I view things. Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, the world hasn't changed, but I'm trying to see the world with less judgment in my eyes. All right, accepting people. You don't know what happened to them this morning. Yeah. You don't know what they've been through. You know, so taking the time to recognise the soul in people. Namaste, I guess. Yep. You know, that's my outlook. You know. Yeah.
Oh, cool. it's kind of along the same lines. I suppose you may have answered this really, but are you a positive thinker? How do you stay positive? Well, you mentioned meditation a bit earlier, but anything else you want to add to that? Or?
Yeah, okay. How do I stay positive? Well, I've always been a very motivated person. How do I stay positive? Well, I guess we have to. All of us have to have some sort of interest in life.
And can I just add to that? Yeah. Do we need to be positive all the time? Also, I mean, that's another thing. You have to go. You can't.
Look, it's. I think it's really hard to achieve happiness all the time, and you have to take the good with the bad, and the positive and the negative. What I think the key is yes, you might be feeling really bad one day. Don't let that negativity. Feel it. It's very important to feel it. To feel it with your entire being. Understand why you're feeling that way. Really examine it. All right, and do your best to let it go. Don't hold that grudge on yourself or on others. And I like to think myself as a positive person. Of course, I have my moments too, mate. I think I'm a little bit better at turning it around now, you know. And if you're upset and angry and stuff, it's important to get it out. You have to get it out. Because if you bottle it up and pretend it's not there, well, that'll manifest in some other way. That's what I believe, you know.
Yeah. You know, I agree with that last statement, like getting it out. And just in my own kind of journey recently, and I won't go into that, it's not really, it's a bit boring, but I've been encouraged, particularly by a few women in my life to kind of to journal stuff.
Yeah.
To any stuff that's really kind of asked me. I'm probably going back a couple of years, but when I just really had a tough time to actually talk about it. And I know a lot of men, a lot of guys, a bit of a cliche, but I think it's fairly true. We don't often seek help that readily or as quickly as maybe others do. Maybe females have often got pretty handy, ready support networks. They just yap, and they go for it, and they get a lot of that stuff out. It's pretty normal for them. For us, we have got our mates. We can yap about a lot of stuff. But when asking for help, often we can feel a bit kind of, well, shit, maybe I should be dealing with this myself. Am I weak by asking for help? And we're not at all. But
no.
But I
know the point you're making.
You know the point I'm making, yeah. And I think just getting it out and getting it off your chest, I've discovered is actually quite therapeutical, and it's not a big deal, and you can be anonymous about it. Just writing it down, getting it out of your head somehow, even on an anonymous forum somewhere on the internet, just blurt your shit out, and sometimes you can be like, oh, okay, it's a little better now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Writing it out, I think it gives your mind a bit of a chance to analyse it in a different way as you're sort of internalising it, but you're getting it out, the words out on paper. You're really seeing that emotion. And I think that's great, Greg. I mean, it's not something I've done, but a little light bulb just went on my head, and then I said, that's a great idea. How about you write out how you're feeling?
Hey, also you're a lyricist though, aren't you? So you're a lyricist, aren't you?
Yeah.
So over the years, you've probably been doing that anyway. Would that be?
Look, and it's funny you bring that up. I've just really changed the way I write songs now. In the past, it would always be the music came first and the lyrics, and I enjoyed the lyrics I write, but it's become a much bigger part of me now. And the way I've been writing the material I'm writing at the moment is just writing a riff and then coming up with a vocal melody straight away. Pen to paper straight away, what's in my mind at the time, writing it out, and yeah, it does, and it's a good way for me to express that part of it. And it's after all these years being a musician, I'm doing things in a really different way, which is exciting, But the lyrics are, they are so important, and like you said, I think that's maybe the way I journal too. But I've got a great support system, mate. I'm getting a bit better at talking about it. I'll get home from the day job, and my wife, she has no hesitation. She'll get home going, today was fucking this, or it was great, or blah blah. Whereas I'm more of the guy like, well, it was a really a trying day at work, it's off. I'm thinking about something else now, which is fine. I mean, I don't, that can work sometimes, but I think you got to get it out somehow, mate. You can't let it build up too much, because you end up having a bit of a snap at someone, and then, for me personally, if I snap at someone, I have a terrible guilt after that, and that compounds your problem. I like to be nice to people, and when I snap at them, I just feel bloody terrible, so it's really managing it so you don't get to that point, and, the pressure release valve, mate, just give it a couple of twists and just let off a little bit of steam without boiling over,
Pressure relief valve, yeah, I like that, mate. Good one. There's a question you don't need to really answer, or I don't mean to get personal here, but I'll throw it at you anyway. So have you, and you did touch a bit on this, some depression, I think you were talking about a bit earlier in the past, but have you experienced any tough times personally that you'd be okay talking about? And if so, how did you get through it? So we don't really need, I'm not asking you for details, but main thing is, how did you get through those situations if you did have,
Well, like I mentioned to you, and I don't know if we had the recorder on at this stage, and maybe it was in the first question I had put myself into a pretty bad situation at work, in my day job, and at this stage of my life, I was, what can I say? I was very motivated by things, and I would often do therapeutic shopping, which is it just doesn't work. It'd make me feel good for 5 minutes, and then I've just got this other useless thing in my life that I don't need. So I was at work, and I was in charge of a few people, and someone was misbehaving, weren't doing what they were told, and being a supervisor, and I handled it in a really bad way. Like I said, I didn't use the pressure release valve. I let it boil over and used everything at my discretion to throw at this colleague, Now, they were in the wrong. It's the thing. They were in the wrong, but that led to a ongoing dispute at work. And I just spiraled down and down and down and down. For a start, I couldn't forgive the other person. I couldn't forgive myself. I was looking at the world with a lot of blame. And it wasn't until a year after it where I had this experience, it's metaphysical experience, I guess, and there was a tap on the shoulder and say, hey, listen here, look at it this way. And it really changed, but I had a really good support system. I went and saw the psychologist at work, and she started me on this path, okay, without having to say much at all, except, Adam, see the way you're thinking? Carve another track in your head, in your mind. Carve another track. Look forward and see yourself as happy, and look and remind yourself to do it. She goes, it's not going to be easy. And that really sort of started me off. I just went, well, she's got to be right in some respect. So I did start to think of getting through it rather than feeling trapped and powerless. She said to me, "Oh, you're powerful. You can change this." So that was an interesting thought, and I just started to think about that a whole lot more. And I was going to see her every couple of months, And I went, one day I was in the waiting room, and I just saw this poster she had on the wall: forgive everybody, everything. That's all it said. And I just went, you know what? It's so true. It's so true, First, it's easier often for us to forgive other people than it is even ourselves, okay? You're the hardest person to forgive is yourself, all right? Because you're constantly conversing with yourself. So, we're often our harshest critics. So, that's how I got through it. And I was just really lucky to, I guess, to be working in a place which had a support mechanism like that. I had a good GP, and look, he put me on some sort of antidepressant, which, quite frankly, made me feel like I was on ecstasy, except without the high. It numbed me, and I was really concerned about it. So I went and saw him, and I said, "Mate, this is just not working for me, He said, "Well, these are meant to be temporary," and I was very concerned for you. And he's very cautious about putting people on it because it's basically to stop you necking yourself, and that's fantastic, right? So he said, "Look, I'm going to get you off it." So he weaned me off it. I was only on it a couple of months, and he just sort of said, "Cut it back." And he had a lot of praise to my psychologist and all that sort of stuff. And so I was able to get through it in a relatively quick time because of the support system. All right. And I've got deep concerns about a couple of my friends who have been on the medication for years and years and years, and it's become a crutch rather than the excellent tool it is to stop someone taking their own life. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm not judging people who are on it, don't get me wrong. I'm not judging them on it. I'm just concerned, I don't think everything can be fixed with a pill. No. And I'm incredibly lucky to have good family, good wife, friends. Some people just don't have what I have. And this all comes back to me trying to put myself in someone else's situation and being empathetic. And mate, they might have abused the shit out of me for nothing, but rather than get on the offensive, just try and understand why they're doing this, because they just probably don't have all these great things in their life that I do, and or have not had the opportunity to talk to someone to help them change their minds about things.
I think you touched on a point there about friends and family. We don't always have family or even good friends or great family, but definitely getting support and connection is a word that I really like to use a lot and means a lot to me. In my history, I know that as an ex-addict of a few substances over the years and doing well these days, I'm happy to say, and alive and well, and glad to see you here with us as well, mate. It's a good thing, but I know connection or disconnection is something that's very real in isolation. And I think even in mental health, you don't really need to be addicted to any drugs or substances or anything. Even in mental health, if we're just not feeling that great and we pull away from society even, or even just going to the letterbox or out the front door sometimes, or pull away from our supports or friends or don't seek help, can be very just, you're in that little world where there's nothing much really, nothing happy going on there, and you're losing not really seeing a lot of hope because you're not getting a lot of outside stimulus. All you're getting is what your mind's telling you, which can be a whole lot of bad shit.
That's right.
And
you tell yourself a lot of bad stories, mate.
But if you're connected, you can actually have a chance to have a breather from that internal narrative, and maybe you think, well, shit, life isn't all really that bad. Yeah. Wait a minute, I'm having a laugh here, or I like the look of that tree or something simple like that. I don't know, or the beach. And
this is, look, I think a lot of the problems is because we're so disconnected from what we were put here to do. Really, this very materialistic world we're in is, mate, it's bound to bring pain, and we all focus on what we don't have. We're so obsessed with what we don't have that rather than, well, let's just try and look at the world without a sense of lack. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned about young people, and they're so targeted now. You know what I mean? They're targeted. It's like, right, you need this, and that. And this and that, and this is happiness, and that's happiness, and this is, and when you've got all this, you'll be happy. Well, no, it's short-lived, and it concerns me, and I've got plenty of things too, but I'm happier when I have more love and less things.
For sure, mate. Yes, yeah. What does making music mean to you, and why do you do it?
Well, mate, when I started out, when I was in Alchemist, okay, and we were a pretty popular band, and we toured the world, and people bought the records and all the hoo-ha and all that sort of stuff. I think what I was most excited about when I first started playing guitar at 13 years old was the sound. The sound was just, it's wow, incredible. But it became something else. It became a lust for success. And it wasn't till I walked away from Alchemist in 2010 and I swore I'd never play again because I was so heartbroken and so within myself, But that lasted about 2 weeks, and now what music means to me is the joy of creating, mate. It's something. We're creative beings, and it's, who knows what's out there in the universe, mate. But we can do this really beautiful thing, and life is art, building, whatever it is. But yeah, for me, it's just. I think when you first write that riff, or you might write a nice melody or something, and that buzz you get just from that initial thing, it's really hard to recreate it later. And I try and remember what joy that song brought me when I created it, and then that's enough. That's actually enough. It doesn't have to be anything else now, So I think I love music more at 46 than I did at 26 when I was a rock star. Okay.
And speaking of balance, I could say for myself that it's helped keep me sane over the years.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How important is it? The musical question, a bit of a band question here. How important is it for the bass, guitar, and the drums to be tight? And where do you see your guitar and voice fitting in the groove?
Yeah, well, look, I've got a, it's funny because I've already touched on how I've changed the way I do things now. So, but bass guitar and drums, I'm fascinated by drummers. Okay, I find it fascinating, and a really good bass player too. And they're two really undersold qualities in bands, and their importance just can't be magnified enough to me, because it's that rock solid bass where you really need to, especially with rock music, I find it really important. And they're two notoriously difficult things to record to capture the vibe. Drums are hard to record. It's hard to get a really great kit that sounds live too. Yeah, you can't underplay their importance, mate. Where does it sit with me? Well, I suppose I'm writing songs. I like to write songs to beats, but now I'm trying to create enough space in the song that the bass and the drums can actually shine through and tie it all up, mate.
Yeah, right.
I think if you're trying to fill it all up with your guitar and voice, that rock solid footing that you need might have a little bit of trouble sort of finding its place. So, yeah, very important, mate.
Cool. How was the recording process for the last Levitation Hex record, which was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cohesion.
So, yeah. How did you bang it down live or record an instrument at a time, or how did you do it?
Well, the way I did it is that since 2007, I've been building up my home studio, and I've got full Pro Tools HD now, right? And a whole lot of nice analog outboard gear. It's a bit of a hobby, I've whittled it down to what I use, but I always found it very stressful in the studio with the Alchemist, especially being the vocalist and having to scream my guts out, and everyone needs to get their stuff down, and so they're taking up all the studio time, and then the vocalist gets this, like, well, you've got to get it done in the NUS. And so I started doing it where I was had in my mind that at least if I could lay the vocals down at home or something like that, so we did it all in my home studio, and it's the way I will operate now, and it means that I don't have to be immersed in the game of coming up with funds to put my art out other than, pressing the CD. And look, we are on a German label, High Roller as well, but we did it all at home, so the budget was spent on some equipment we needed, and it's a really good space I've got. So it was quite joyful and stressless, because I do not like to create music under stress, and I've done that enough times, and it has manifested with very poor behaviour from me, where I'm still astounded to this day how my bandmates, how patient they were with me, and I've apologised for my tantrums. I've apologised, mate, but it did really. It was good. It was another bit of a wake-up call in my life where I said, well, I can't treat people like that just because I'm under stress. What way out of this have I got? And I just started thinking, well, I'll just slowly build stuff up where I can be creative in my own space, and if I'm going down there and I've got to record a riff and double track it, and I don't get it right after a few hours, well, it's okay, it's not working today, turn everything off, let's go to bed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
yep.
So, yeah, mate, joyful it was.
That's great. So, yeah, what are your plans? I mean, another album coming up. Now, I know I saw on your Facebook page, Levitation X, you've got some gigs coming up this year. You've got the Bendigo Hotel, I think, in Melbourne soon, is that?
The 10th of November, maybe, or the 25th, I think.
25th. And there's another, you're doing a couple of gigs anyway. So, yeah, do you want to tell us, is there any dates you'd like to mention? What date we were at? September the 3rd, 2017 today, so anything coming up?
Let me see if I can rattle them off.
Or any other projects, musical, any albums coming in, or any other personal stuff?
I've got a space rock sort of project with my wife and her sister, and another couple of guys, sort of a Hawkwind sort of style, sort of 70s stuff, called Pilots of Balbec, and we're just sort of in the rehearsal stage now. We've got a few tunes written, and that's going to be a lot of fun because I haven't been in a band with my wife for 25 years. So she was in Pod People for 10 or 11 years, who are a good sort of stoner rock band. So that's a lot of fun. And okay, Levitation X, we're about to hit the road now until probably about February. So starting with the 16th of September down at Metal United Down Under in Adelaide at the Enigma Bar. Then we've got the 27th of October here at Metal Fiesta 13 out there at the basement. The next night, 28th, in Wagga on some guy's property, actually. Just like that'll be a bit of fun. After that, I'm pretty sure it's the 25th of November at Scorching Steel at the Bendigo Hotel, which is my favourite venue in Melbourne. It's just a great sounding little room and a good vibe, good people there running it, and it's just got a great sound. I really love that place. And what else? I think then I've got the 10th, or maybe it's... Yeah, I've got the 10th of November in Sydney at the Ballface Stag for a show there. And after that, I think we're going to be playing the Bendigo again on the 2nd of December and the 3rd of December in Warrnambool. We'll probably do a couple of gigs in February, and then I'm off on a bit of an adventure. I'm a bit of a I'm pretty interested in ancient cultures, so I've always wanted to go to Egypt, and I'm going there for 14 days, and I've been saving for a couple of years to do that, and it's not cheap to do it, but I just, I can't wait. I'm really excited. I'm trying to actually live in the moment, not there yet, because you know what it's like when you've got something exciting coming up. So I'm really happy I've got all these gigs, because, the weekends over the warmer months are going to be a lot of fun, and it's just great. Good blokes in the band, supportive bandmates. I think that's really important too. And we're there for each other, and we're old enough to respect each other's personal lives these days, and to realise that like I said, the other two guys are in another band, and probably if you had said that to me 20 years ago, I would not be able to accept that. It's this, and we've got to do all this, and I think giving yourself a break, and everyone else, creates a better place to create music, mate.
Yeah, good. Well, you got a lot of stuff going on. That's fantastic. So we look forward to checking that out. So you've got a Facebook page for the Levitation Hex. So you look that up. And is there any other websites or any?
LevitationHex.net. You can buy downloads from there, and you can buy CDs, which we post worldwide, which we're happy to. You usually in Australia, once you've put an order in, you'll have it by the end of the week. And we've just about finished our contract in Germany, and I don't think I'll pursue getting another one. I think I just want to do it all in-house now, and I have struggled with the way the music scene is now, struggling to accept that, you pretty much have to give your music away. So the next album, you'll still be able to buy the CDs and downloads from our website, but we're also going to put it up on Spotify and iTunes and all these other things, which I swore I wouldn't do at really reduced prices, because basically that's your business card. I did struggle with that. It's taken me some time to accept it, but I just think, mate, music is to be shared. It is something primal within us, and so why not share it? Why not just get out there?
Like, you've got to be adaptable, don't you, to what the whole system around the world is doing, and what people are buying, where the market's going, and if you want to get your stuff out there, you've got to kind of, I suppose, adapt. Really, would you say?
I mean, how much has it changed in our lifetime, mate? It's unbelievable. If someone come up to you in the 80s, said, well, I just get it out of thin air now, music. What? What? Well, how are the record companies going to make billions of dollars? You know what I mean? It's just, it is really changed, and I think some things for the better and some things not so good. Yeah. But then again, with how cheap recording equipment is, you can come up with a decent demo with your home equipment, and that takes pressure off bands too. And don't get me wrong, I think bands should be paid, and bands are important, but you know what, mate, bands are cool and musicians are cool. I'm not so into big business. All right, that's not cool. Someone exploiting your art, it's not really cool, It's so I don't attach to that anymore. There definitely was a time in my life where I did, but I value other things now, mate.
Attachment can be a dangerous thing. Well, there you go, as the Buddhists would tell us. Yeah, great insights there. Good to hear your views on that stuff. Last question for you. We'll wrap this up. What would you say to any fans who are listening to this who might be struggling with their mental health or doing it tough in life at the moment?
Okay, like we've said, Greg, it's important for you to talk. You need to let someone know. And if you are unfortunate enough not to have someone close to you who you can talk about, and maybe, you're uncomfortable talking to someone who you know well, and that's something that needs to be understood as well. There is always someone you can ring. If that's Lifeline, then do it. We do have some good free services in this country, and you really do need to talk. And also remember that however shitty your situation is, it's temporary. It's temporary. There's something better in the horizon. Concentrate on that and bring it towards you, there'll be other bad times in your life. It's a cycle, you know. It's just ups and downs. We need to experience it all. But talk to someone. Talk to someone. It might be your bandmate, right? And it's funny. We're a very emotional people, musicians. You know, we do it. It is an expression of emotion. So you know, don't shy away from that. Don't shy away from it. Speak it and support. Also, you know, directly for musicians, support your bandmates. You know, they might be doing it pretty tough, and that's why they can't do that gig in 2 weeks at the Tote.
Yep.
All right. Try and understand them, you know, and be their support system.
Mr. Adam Agius, thank you very much, mate, for your time. A Canberra music legend from, you know, your long history making music, and now with your band Levitation Hex and a few other personal projects going on as well that you got coming up. It's just great to hear you talk, mate, and great to meet you as well. So, yeah, everyone just look up the Levitation Hex on Facebook, and good on you, Adam. Thanks, mate.
Hey, no worries, mate. Thank you, Greg. It's a very admirable thing you're doing, mate.
Oh, no worries, mate. Thanks, Adam.
Hey, no worries, mate. It was lovely to meet you, and it's not often I get to talk like that, so that's why I jumped at it, mate.
Cool, mate. Thanks. Appreciate it.
No, it's good. It's a good approach you got, because it's just, we meet all sorts of people in this sort of scene, don't we? You know, and
Yep.
and you see people really, really hit rock bottom and pick themselves up. But you know, mate, I really do appreciate the opportunity to chat. So.
Fantastic, mate. From the downtown, the salubrious downtown cafe in Manuka, not Manuka, Manuka. Signing off from Canberra on September the 3rd, 2017. See you later.